a YouTuber named Admiral Price did a video called Fixing CA's DLC Policy. I disagreed with most of the opinions there, and so did a few others. By the way, no need to dislike or leave aggressive comments because you disagree. Just leave a sensible, calm argument. This is the internet, everybody. Mostly Medieval 2 fans are here. We are known for our calmness and for being respectful. Anyway, his belief was that CA should instead focus on having mechanics DLC, such as a family tree extension or improved Emperor mechanics for Three Kingdoms. But in return, all factions will be playable, much like Paradox. On paper, the idea does sound good, but I don't think this actually works in practice, as a lot of people do not like Paradox's DLC policy. Whereas the vast majority seem kind of okay with Total War's policy. So I did a little survey. This was never meant to be a video, but the results were so one-sided that I decided to talk about it. Now, part 1 of this video will be looking to see if CA is in the right or the wrong with their DLC policy. First of all, a lot of comments were people saying that DLC should not exist at all. The game should just release and be done. I strongly disagree. I think people assume that it's just a few millionaires at the top getting richer and richer and only that. Those millionaires do of course exist, but companies don't only make money for them. There's shareholders, on a pay wage similar to mostly you and me, ordinary people who buy shares in the company and can make money, or lose depending on the success of the business. I almost did actually buy shares into Sega, so then into the Creative Assembly, but usually the vast majority of shareholders are not millionaires. Another thing that must be understood, CA does not necessarily make money by making DLC. The devs get paid a wage and that is mostly all. The money actually goes to Sega. So when people say the developers at CA are greedy, all the developers actually do is show up to work, do their job, get a paycheck based on their hours or whatever, and then go home. It's the publishers at Sega, the actual owners, who make all the money. My point is, I believe it is wrong to say the game should just release, perfect, and have that be that. It's not as simple as the Rome 1, Medieval 2 days. To keep up with technology and consumer demand, development now has to be done differently. And I must ask you, what would you do? There's 2 buttons on your desk. The blue one gives you £60. The red one gives you £120, double. But some guy in New Zealand who will never know who you are will be unhappy. Which would you press? We cannot accuse companies of having bad business practice when they stay within the law and be logical and human, especially when you would fall into the same flaws as they would if you were in their place. Okay, now let's question CA's DLC policy. Compared to similar companies of similar size, is it that bad? I will be using the last completed similar titles for comparison. In Warhammer 2, which I think is the best example so far, you have nation packs and expansion packs. For $7.99 you can get 2 factions, so basically £4 for 1 faction. Civilization 5 and 6 both have the same policy. Map packs, nation packs, and then a few expansions. that really just add mechanics and nations again. For $2.99 or $3.99, you get one faction. Let's go in the middle and say one faction costs £3.40. So for Total War, you do pay more for the faction by 60p, but we now have to judge the quality. Modders can make Civ 5 and Civ 6 factions. Go onto the Steam Workshop and you can find so many complete new factions. Why? Because it's so easy to do. Even I could do it, and that says quite a lot. However, with Total War, new factions do exist, but the skill level is so much different on the newer games. Unlike Civ 5, a new faction cannot just be created in a day or two. So many units need to be redone or modelled from scratch. There's clearly so much more effort put in. So overall, the faction unlock policy by CA compared to other companies in their position is a better deal. So, overall, the faction unlock policy by CA is a better deal than their competitor, Civilization. Okay, let's now compare Warhammer 2 to EU4. Both of them, I think, are nearing their final DLC. They are at the same stage. We all know what Paradox's DLC policy is like. Now, Paradox do give you all the factions, but you pay for mechanics. Overall, I think it is safe to say Paradox has the worst DLC policy here. CA is actually quite good in the field of major strategy games. I love CA. I try to keep it neutral and open to all opinions for fair debate. I think I do good at that. But I am in their Discord, and I do receive free stuff from them, meaning you could argue bias. I don't think I am. I am trying to be logical as always, but it's always good in a video like this to point out your own possible flaws and biases. I think a lot of other YouTubers that talk about DLC policies and, the fairness of business do need to state their own biases much more. Or potential biases, I should say. I also got free stuff from Paradox though. This video does not say CA is perfect at any means. It just argues that in the grand scheme of things, and in comparison, can we really blame them? To be honest, if I was in their shoes, I would milk you all for so much more. And when you see Total War Elysium and the new Warhammer mobile game, remember, the developers behind Warhammer 2 and Attila, or whatever game it is, have no connection at all to that. Those two are ordered by Sega, but using the branding of Total War, using the branding of the Creative Assembly, like the developers are not the same developers. If you really still disagree and want to hate, do it to those who actually make the money from pumping out the DLC. Sega. Having a go at the developers is like complaining to the waiter because they are all out of fish. It's not the poor waiter's fault. I think a lot of the calling out is right every now and then, but sometimes some gamers take it too far. Like with a lot of things lately in this modern world we are in, sometimes it is right, but sometimes people take it too far. Many YouTubers call out CA for their business practices, and for the first time, I am going to call them out. Come on. How many of you have complained at CA for being corrupt after yourself taking a sponsorship and streaming deal with companies like Facebook? How many of you fake your opinion to be overly negative and hateful because you know that will get you more views, more clicks? One of you, your channel was dead before you made that content, and now you are milking it for those quick bucks, as little effort content as possible to maximise the flow of money. I don't even have 20k subs yet. I can make enough at this point to live on my own. I am financially near enough stable. I admit that. I know how much some of you bigger names out there make. I see your real views. And you actually advertise a Patreon saying it is to keep you fed or keep me alive. I know how much you're actually making. I even saw it when one of you faked a, "Oh no guys, I think all my videos are demonetized. I don't know if I can continue anymore. I've had to set up a Patreon as a way to get more people to sign up." The screenshot that you shared was a very common bug known to many YouTubers by this point. It's just a visual bug whilst they update their system. Check back in 5 minutes, it's all fine. And of course, like you know, their Patreon did explode. Now, some people do actually get demonetized, and that is of course very unfortunate, but I do know some who have clearly faked it to advertise their new Patreon. I don't really have much of a problem with that. You do you. I cannot argue with the mentality of wanting to make money. But if you're the type of guy who then complains at other people's business practices, deep down, knowing they are more ethical than what you are secretly doing, you know, come on. And that's all I'll say on that. Finally, part 3, the DLC itself. So excluding expansions, the results were heavily in favour of people wanting map extensions, such as, imagine if Medieval 3 released with a map like Rome 2, all mechanics free, all factions free and playable from launch, with 3 updates later to improve it all, but you pay for map extensions, such as an India DLC, Americas DLC, Africa DLC, Mongols DLC, which branches out the map, unlocking new, unique cultures and scenarios altogether, whilst being connected to the base game. That had over 50% of the vote. In second, with 24%, was the system we have now, faction unlocks, and that is not Rome 2 style unlocks, where it is just the plain faction, but Warhammer 2 level, where each one also comes with new, fresh and interesting mechanics that fit around that faction, actual high quality factions. I think that could exist in some form for the weirder factions. For example, although I said every faction free for Medieval 3, I would not mind if the Mongols and the Papal States were put behind a paywall. Factions that would overly complex the game at launch, but it should not be many, and not be some super expensive thing. I would also like to see some options to bring mechanics from campaign expansions into base game. Imagine if you got Rome 1, Barbarian Invasion, and that also unlocks an option in base game Rome 1, where you can have the Horde mechanic or religion system. Or if Age of Charlemagne gave you the option to have war weariness in base game Attila. Oh, that would be a nightmare. Now, they should still be optional to not upset the balance of the base game, but still would be nice to see that conversion and make them even more worth it at the same time. So in conclusion, CA's policy is not that bad, as proven with my numbers, and secondly, no point actually blaming CA themselves. Other YouTubers just do that because it is easier for the audience to understand, and then they can use that to collect mass viewers. Whereas when it comes to this video, I am trying to not dumb it down to too much of that level. And I think the survey gave some very good results, 50% and 25% when there were 5 options available is very conclusive. Anyway, I have been MELKOR, do not subscribe for this. this is not my usual type of content. I am more of a part comedy, part AI only channel. But I do hope you enjoyed, hope you learnt something. Feel free to post your own opinion down below, but do it as the calm, respectful community that you are. And for now, until the next one, tomorrow's video, Napoleon Total War portrayed by SpongeBob SquarePants. Until then, goodbye.